subscribe for more. 19 in Massachusetts for 3 years. I thought I'd seen it all. Drunks, weirdos, even the occasional runaway. But last night something changed. It started just after 2:13 a.m. The store was dead quiet. The kind of silence that presses against your ears until you start hearing things. I was refilling the coffee machine when the emergency alert went off on the radio. Static burst, followed by a distorted voice. Emergency alert system. This is not a test. Shelter in place immediately. Do not engage with any persons outside. Lock all doors. Repeat, lock all doors and remain inside. The message looped once and cut off. No explanation, no weather warning, just static. I stared at the radio for a long second, unsure if I had hallucinated it. Then I saw the pumps light up. Someone had pulled into pump 7. Thing is, I hadn't heard an engine. No headlights, no bell chime from the entrance. Just there, a figure in a hoodie, standing perfectly still beside the pump, facing the store. I went to the door and pressed my face against the glass. The lights outside flickered, and that's when I noticed it. The figure's shadow didn't match the overhead lighting. It was too long, stretched out across the pavement in the wrong direction, like it had a mind of its own. I backed away and hit the auto lock on the door. The radio crackled again. Do not let them see you move. Stay still. They mimic motion. Repeat, do not move. What the hell does that even mean? I ducked behind the counter, heart hammering. The store lights buzzed and dimmed. I peeked over just enough to glimpse outside. The figure was gone. No footsteps, no sound. Then, knock, 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 on the front glass. I froze. A slow shadow passed over the checkout counter. Not outside, inside. I never heard the door open, never heard it close. But something was now in here with me. The emergency radio crackled again. A new voice, shaky, human. If you're hearing this, they've breached containment. They don't just copy your shape, they remember you. They'll knock like your mom. They'll smile like your brother. You'll think they're people. They're not. Lock the damn doors. I heard movement in the snack aisle. I stayed perfectly still. A plastic bag of chips crinkled. Then I heard my name. Derek? It's me, Shelley. Don't freak out. It's just me. Are you hiding? Shelley was my ex. She died in a car accident 2 years ago. But the voice? It was exactly hers. She walked past the counter, and her shadow stretched like a spider, limbs too long, joints bending backward. She stopped, sniffed the air, smiled with too many teeth. I didn't breathe, didn't blink. I stayed crouched behind the counter like a rabbit in a field full of hawks. Shelley stood inches away, sniffing. Her fingers twitched unnaturally, like she didn't know how hands were supposed to work. She tilted her head in short, jerky motions. Too fast, too sharp. Derek, you don't have to be scared. I missed you. The voice was perfect, down to the tremble she used when she cried. But she was dead. I saw her body in the casket. She took a step closer. Her foot made no sound, not even a scuff. Then her head snapped toward the back room. Something banged loudly behind the cooler. She bolted for it like a spider hunting prey, limbs bending the wrong way, nails scraping the floor. I didn't think. I dove up and slammed the panic button under the counter. The store lights flickered and went red. That's never happened before. A mechanical voice rang out overhead. Containment breach detected. Protocol B7 in effect. Shutters engaging. Metal shutters slammed down over the windows. The front door locked again with a loud clunk. I peeked over the counter. Shelley was gone again. But in her place, a wet trail, like something had melted where she'd stood. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. You moved. They know you now. I didn't reply. I stood up, slow, shaky, every muscle screaming to run. I had to check the cameras. The back office was freezing. I swear I saw my breath as I stepped inside. The camera feeds flickered in and out. Cam 3, pump 7, empty. Cam 5, stockroom, lights off. Movement in the shadows. Cam 1, cashier, I was standing there, but something was off. I leaned closer. On the monitor, I was standing still, watching the screen. But I wasn't moving in real life. I was behind myself. I spun, nothing, empty. Then the monitor glitched. My double on the screen turned to face the camera and smiled. I yanked the power cord. Everything went black. Just then, the radio clicked on again. Same voice as before, nervous, broken. You need to get underground. If your station's red lights went off, they triggered the old tunnels. Basement hatch near the mop sink. Go now. If it sees you again, It'll wear your skin better next time. I didn't question it. I ran to the mop closet, knocked aside the cleaning supplies. And sure enough, metal trapdoor, half rusted shut. Behind me, I heard glass cracking. Something wearing my face said, "You should have stayed still." I dropped into the dark, landing hard on cold cement. Above me, the trap slammed shut. And in the pitch black, I heard breathing that wasn't mine. He's breathing down here with me. That was the first thought that slammed into my skull the moment. The trapdoor shut and darkness swallowed everything. It wasn't just me. Something else was in the tunnels. I held my breath, listening. There it was, slow, wet, like lungs that had forgotten how to work. I backed up, palms scraping cold cement, until I hit the curved wall. My fingers brushed something soft, cloth. I flinched, then I realized it was a jacket. A corpse's, maybe. It was still warm. I needed light. Fumbled for my phone, thank God it still worked. The flashlight flickered on, casting a jittery cone of light ahead. That's when I saw it. A man crouched at the far end of the corridor, skin pale like wax, eyes wide open, reflecting the light, smiling, not moving, except he wasn't breathing. The sound was still coming from behind me. I spun the light around. Nothing. The breathing stopped. I turned back. The crouched man was gone, just a damp handprint on the wall. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Stop using the light. They track the heat. I killed the flashlight immediately. Total darkness again. A low hiss echoed down the corridor. I reached out blindly, found the wall, and followed it. I shuffled forward one step at a time, praying the tunnel didn't drop off into some underground hell pit. I counted the steps in my head. 17, 18, 19. My hand brushed metal. A door. It squealed open, heavy and slow. Cool air spilled out. Too clean, too still. I stepped inside, shut the door behind me. The lights inside flickered on, red emergency backup buzzing faintly. I was in some kind of old bunker. Concrete walls, rusted supply racks, a filing cabinet overturned in the corner, and in the center, a CRT monitor, still on, glowing faintly. Text blinking on a black screen. Welcome back, Derek. Subject 7 has breached containment. Protocol failed. New objective, survive. The screen flickered. A new line typed itself out, slowly, like someone on the other end was just now thinking it through. They know you work here. You are part of this. The light above me shattered. Footsteps approached from the tunnel outside. Slow, dragging. Something whispered just beyond the door. Derek, open up. It's me. You forgot your jacket. I never owned a jacket. I stared at the door, breath frozen in my throat. You forgot your jacket. The voice repeated, more playful this time. Like a joke between friends. Whoever or whatever was out there, it hadn't opened the door. It could mimic voices, appearances, even memories. But maybe it needed me to let it in. The bunker wasn't safe. Not really, but it was sealed. I backed away from the door and turned to the glowing monitor. The screen was blinking again. Subject 7, active, adaptive, hostile. Last known host, Shelley M. Doucette, deceased. Current host, unknown. I felt my stomach twist. Shelley, my Shelley. The thing had worn her. Or something that looked like her. The cursor blinked once, then began typing on its own again. Why did you come back, Derek? My mouth went dry. I hadn't told anyone my name. Not tonight, not down here. I typed back. Who are you? The screen stuttered. The lights dimmed. Then one final line appeared. You already know. Suddenly, something slammed against the door behind me. Hard. Metal buckled. Dust rained from the ceiling. Bang. You should have stayed upstairs, it whispered. I looked around the bunker for anything useful. Weapon, escape hatch, anything. On the floor behind the filing cabinet was a metal case. Heavy, military style. Inside, a small tablet blinking red. A label across the back read, Property of DHSD, Directive Human-Shaped Deception. Use only if confronted. The screen displayed one word. Activate? No explanation. I tapped yes. The lights went out. Silence. Then, a loud tone filled the bunker, high-pitched, vibrating in my skull. I dropped to my knees, clutching my head. The door flew open, but nothing stepped inside. Instead, I saw the silhouette in the hallway collapse. Legs twitching, arms convulsing. The face peeled apart like wet paper. Black steam rose from the body. It was changing. No longer Shelley. No longer anything close to human. It looked like raw meat trying to stand. The tone stopped. My ears rang with silence. The thing dragged itself backward into the dark, screaming in a dozen voices at once. I sat there, shaking when the tablet lit up again. New message. It's not dead. It just knows you can fight back now. Another message blinked underneath. Exit tunnels opening in 5 minutes. Stay alive. A new sound echoed through the bunker. Voices, hundreds, whispering my name, laughing. The lights flickered violently. There were more of them. A lot more. And they were coming down the tunnels. I grabbed the tablet, heart pounding. The timer on the screen was counting down from 5 minutes. 4 now. Outside the bunker door, the whispers were getting closer. Too many voices. Speaking in unison but out of sync. Like a chorus made of broken radios. Eerie, open your eyes, Derek. We remember you. You left us behind. The tunnel outside the bunker breathed. I'm not exaggerating. I could feel the air throb. In and out like the concrete had lungs. I held my breath and pressed my ear to the far wall. Faint movement, like something huge was crawling through the stone itself. The lights flickered again. 3:16 remaining. I tore open a supply locker by the wall. Inside was a rusted fire axe, a half-charged flashlight, and a bundle of old maps. I took the axe. Another slam at the door. The voices sharpened. If you leave, we'll follow. If you stay, we'll wear your skin better next time. You belong down here. 242. The monitor blipped one last time. Surface exit, tunnel C19. Follow the blood trail. Ignore the shadows. They lie. I stepped into the corridor and swung the axe at the nearest wall torch, lighting the path, just enough to see the trail. It was there, a smear of blood, fresh, dark red, leading left. I followed. Every 30 feet, another thing whispered to me from the dark. One voice sobbed like my mother. One screamed like my high school coach. Another voice my own. I didn't stop. At one point, a little girl stood in the center of the path. She looked up at me and said, "Daddy?" I kept walking. Her shadow crawled across the wall like a spider. The walls pulsed around me, and something scraped just beneath the floor. 105. I reached a junction. One path led down into pitch black. The other, faint light, and the trail of blood continued. But so did the shadows. They danced across the lit tunnel like something was waiting just around the bend. I hesitated. Then the flashlight in my pocket vibrated. A new voice crackled from its speaker. Same shaky man from earlier broadcasts. It's watching from the light now. They learn. Choose the dark. Just this once. I turned toward the black tunnel. 35 seconds. I ran. The dark swallowed me whole. I could feel them crawling behind me, breathing against my neck. My feet splashed in ankle-high water. Something brushed my leg, cold, sinewy. Then ahead I saw it. A metal ladder leading up to a hatch. 10 seconds. I jumped, climbed, kicked the hatch. It didn't budge. "Derek," a voice whispered in my ear. This was never about escape. 5 seconds. I screamed, drove the axe into the lock once, twice. The hatch blew open. Blinding light, sirens, air, cold, real air. I dragged myself through and collapsed on grass under a full moon. Silence. Then behind me, the hatch slowly closed itself. The grass around it, covered in blood. The hatch slammed shut behind me with a mechanical clang, sealing whatever nightmare lived down there. I lay on the grass, gasping, staring up at the stars like they were the last real thing left in the world. But it didn't feel like freedom. The air smelled wrong, sterile, cold, too clean. I sat up slowly. I wasn't in the woods like I expected. No trees, no gas station in sight. Just a fenced-in field surrounded by massive floodlights and high concrete walls. A speaker clicked on above me. Subject Derek Carter has exited tunnel. C-19 tracking confirms breach of perimeter. Mobilize recovery team. Subject not survivor. I stood. My clothes were torn, covered in blood, some of it mine. Most of it not. A camera on a pole above followed my every move. Somewhere inside the wall, machinery whirred to life. Then the tablet I still carried vibrated in my pocket. One final message. You weren't supposed to leave. Now it knows the way out. Suddenly the hatch behind me began to glow. Faint red, like something alive was pulsing underneath. A siren wailed. The floodlights turned inward, focused on the hatch. A voice, different from before, this one terrified, came over the loudspeaker. Containment compromised. Subject 7 has followed. Repeat. Subject 7 is surface side. I backed away as the metal hatch bulged outward. Something on the other side was pressing against it, slowly, deliberately, testing. Then it stopped. Silence. I thought maybe it had given up. Then I heard it. From behind me. Derek. Not a scream. Not a whisper. Just spoken. I turned. There was someone standing by the far gate. Tall, familiar, wearing my uniform. Same jacket, same name tag, same face. It waved. I didn't move. Then another me stepped out of the shadows beside it. And another. And another. Each of them looked more worn, more corrupted. One's eyes were hollow. One smiled with broken teeth. One dragged something behind it, a long metal pole, or a spine. The first one pointed at me. And all of them began to walk. The wall intercom buzzed again. If you can hear this, run. Don't let them touch you. If they mimic you outside of containment, they'll spread. I ran. The fake Dereks didn't chase. They just walked slowly, like they knew they'd catch me eventually. As I reached the edge of the fence, a steel door slid open. A woman in a hazmat suit waved me in. I didn't stop to ask who she was. Once inside, she slammed the door, sealed it, turned to me. Her face was pale, eyes wide with fear. You brought it out, didn't you? She whispered. I nodded. Then it's already too late. Behind us, the concrete wall began to crack. The wall cracked again. Dust rained from the ceiling. The woman in the hazmat suit pulled me deeper into the facility. White halls, flickering LEDs, rooms that looked more like hospital morgues than labs. We passed 2 armed guards. One was shaking. What's wrong with him? I asked. She didn't look at me. He saw a version of himself last night. Won't speak now, not to us. Not even to mirrors. We stopped outside a door labeled Project Mirror Glass, Level 3 Access Only. She keyed in a code. The door hissed open. Inside, a massive glass chamber, circular, monitors everywhere. And in the center, a floating black shape suspended in air, slowly spinning like it was underwater. It wasn't Subject 7. It was a recording of it. A projection, but I still felt it staring. The woman finally turned to me. Do you remember what happened in 2009? I blinked. What? You were one of the only survivors. Your parents died in the Station 12 breach. You were 6. We thought it didn't touch you. We thought you were clean. The walls felt like they were shrinking. What are you talking about? She typed something on the monitor. My name flashed on screen. Subject file, Derek Carter. Recovered, 12/14/2009. Notes, exposure level, high. Signs of latency, yes. Memory suppression protocols initiated, successful. I stumbled back. No, this was just a job. I filled out an application. I went through training, You were placed there, Derek, she said. You're not a worker. You're containment material. I couldn't breathe. And then, every monitor in the room shut off. The projection in the chamber changed, from a shape to a face, mine. Then it spoke through every speaker in the room. You left me behind, but I remember now. The lights exploded. The glass around the projection cracked. The air temperature dropped 20 degrees. The hazmat woman whispered, "Run." I didn't move. "Derek," it said again, "let me show you what you forgot." I screamed. Everything went white. When I opened my eyes, I wasn't in the chamber anymore. I was standing in the middle of the gas station. Clean, normal, music playing on the radio, customers pumping gas outside. Shelley stood behind the counter. "You okay, hun?" she asked, just like she used to. I looked down. I was holding a mop. My name tag read, Derek, first shift. The gas station was quiet. Too quiet. I could hear the buzzing of the ceiling lights, the hum of the soda fridge, the distant rhythm of the same pop song that always played at 2 a.m. I stood behind the counter, a mop in my hand, a fresh uniform on my back, name tag, Derek, first shift. Shelley leaned on the register, flipping through a tabloid. "You okay, hun?" she asked. "You look like you saw a ghost." I didn't answer, because this wasn't real. It felt real, smelled real. But somewhere in the back of my mind, alarms were still screaming. I walked to the window. Cars passed. A man pumped gas. A teenager argued with his mom. It was perfect, like a memory polished to a mirror shine. Then I saw myself walking across the parking lot. Not a mimic, not like before. Me, as a child, 6 years old, holding a teddy bear with one eye missing. I stopped at the door and looked right at me, and smiled. "He's not ready," Shelley said behind me. "You're pushing too hard again." Another voice answered from the back room. My voice. He has to remember. It's the only way he'll understand what we are. I stepped backward, reaching for the door. The walls shimmered like heat waves. Shelley's skin peeled away like a costume, revealing black veins, empty eyes, a mouth that opened wider than it should. She didn't chase, just watched. "It's okay, Derek," she said in a dozen wrong voices. "We're the same." "You always knew." I ran. The hallway stretched for miles. Fluorescent lights blinked overhead, always one step behind. Every door I passed opened on its own, each showing a different memory. Me in the gas station. Me in a hospital bed, strapped down, screaming. Me staring into a broken mirror, repeating, "It's not me." It's not me. Me as a child, holding hands with something not human in a containment cell. I stopped at the last door. It opened to the underground facility. The real one. Alarms blaring. Lights red. Screams in the distance. The hazmat woman stood over my body. My body, unconscious on the floor, veins black. Eyes flickering beneath closed lids. "He's still in there," she whispered to someone behind her. "Subject 7 hasn't absorbed him yet, but he's fading." Then she looked straight at me. "If you're listening, Derek, you need to choose. Come back, or let it in." Behind me, the hallway melted away into darkness. Something moved in the shadows. Something wearing my face. It stepped forward, smiling with sadness. "We're not monsters, Derek. We're echoes. You were just the first to survive the connection." I stepped toward it. "What are you?" "Your reflection," it whispered. "The one they buried. The one that remembers. The one that's free." It held out its hand. "Let me back in, and we can show them all what we really are." Its hand was still outstretched. My hand. But wrong. The skin shimmered like oil on water. The fingers flexed too smoothly. And its eyes, my eyes, were filled with something ancient. Something hollow. "They lied to us," it whispered. "They locked me in the dark. Left you above to rot in pretend normalcy. But we're not broken, Derek. We're a bridge." I shook my head. "You're not me." It smiled. "No, I'm what you would have become if they hadn't poisoned you with their fear." Behind me, the world flickered, the gas station warping and pulsing like a heartbeat. I could feel the real world calling me back. The pain, the sirens, the fear in that woman's voice. "Come back, don't let it in." The version of me stepped closer. The dream warped around it, walls liquefying, gravity bending. Every step it took sent a thrum through my chest. "You think you can go back to them? The ones who made you a cage? The ones who turned you into bait?" My fists clenched. "I didn't ask for any of this." "Neither did I," it said. And for a second, I saw it. The cell, the experiments, the faces in hazmat suits looking down, the other kids screaming, and me curled in the corner, eyes glowing in the dark. "You want to know what they fear?" It whispered. "That you'll stop pretending to be human." It stepped closer, one last time. "Let me back in. We'll show them." And I wanted to. I could feel it, what we could become. Together, limitless, shifting, unstoppable, no more cages, no more lies, just the truth, pulsing through 1,000 borrowed bodies. But then I thought of the woman in the hazmat suit. Terrified, fighting anyway. I thought of the guards who looked at me like I was a grenade. And Shelley, the real Shelley, whose name I still didn't know, but who probably died long ago while I slept in a fabricated memory. Maybe they didn't deserve mercy. But maybe I did. Not as a weapon, not as a monster, just as me. "No," I said. The mimic froze, confused. "You're not my reflection," I said. "You're my scar, and I don't need you to be whole." I turned, and I ran into the light. I woke up screaming. Real air, real cold, real pain. The hazmat woman was still there. Her eyes widened as I gasped for breath. "He's back," she called. "Get a med kit." I sat up, every nerve screaming, heart pounding like a war drum. "Is it gone?" I asked. She didn't answer. She just looked at the monitors, where one camera feed showed a hallway, and me still standing in it, smiling. They kept me in isolation for 6 days. The room was white, padded, windowless. A single light above me, cameras in every corner. The woman, Dr. Laramie, I finally learned, checked on me through a speaker. They wouldn't let me near reflective surfaces. No mirrors, no glass, not even metal with a shine. When I asked why, she only said, "You don't want to see what looks back." I didn't sleep, because sometimes when I blinked I'd still see that hallway, and me still standing in it. On the 7th day, they took me to a room I wasn't supposed to see. A theater-sized monitor lit up with footage from outside, gas stations, grocery stores, police stations, news anchors behind desks. All too perfect. They paused the video. "Can you tell which ones are real?" Dr. Laramie asked. I couldn't. I didn't answer. She sighed and tapped a file onto the screen. Subject 7, dispersal. Map, red points everywhere. It had spread. We can't trace it. We can't detect it. All we can do is monitor and wait. I swallowed hard. Wait for what? For you, she said. You're connected to it. We think you always were. You're either its jailer or its key. That night, they sedated me. I pretended to sleep. I waited until the nurse left, then stood up and looked into the steel wall. My reflection was already there, waiting, smiling. "You made the right choice," it whispered. "We're not monsters, Derek. We're evolution." I stared at it, but I didn't answer. They let me go 6 weeks later. Gave me a new name, a new apartment, a new city. They said they'd be in touch. And for a while, I almost believed I was free. Until I saw a gas station. The same layout, the same freezer hum, the same song playing low in the background. And the man behind the counter, he looked up at me, and he looked exactly like me. He smiled, slow, familiar. And behind him, in the convex mirror above the chips aisle, I saw 6 more of me stocking shelves, sweeping, counting change, all perfectly human, all waiting. They weren't mimics anymore. They were seeds. And I was the soil.